Chapter 10. A New Journey. The morning air was crisp, carrying the scent of dew-soaked grass and the distant sound of a bubbling stream. Ash stood at the edge of the small clearing, gazing out at the horizon where the sun was just beginning to rise, casting the world in a soft golden light. The transformation was complete now, and she could feel it in every fiber of her being. Her reflection in the water nearby confirmed what she already knew. She was Misty's twin in every possible way. The long, vibrant red hair, the delicate features, the slender frame. If someone who hadn't seen them in months were to stumble upon them now, they wouldn't be able to tell the two apart. Ash ran a hand through her hair, an action that still felt foreign despite the weeks of practice. Her fingers caught in the familiar tangles, and she gave a small, rueful smile. Misty had always dealt with this, hadn't she? The thought was oddly comforting, like she was walking in Misty's shoes, truly understanding her in ways she never had before. But the reflection staring back at her wasn't just Misty. It was still her, Ash Ketchum. Her identity hadn't dissolved just because her body had changed. She was still the same person at her core, the same person who had set off from Pallet Town all those years ago with Pikachu by her side, ready to take on the world. She glanced down at Pikachu, who was sitting at her feet, its tail flicking back and forth. Pikachu looked up at her, its eyes full of warmth and trust. It hadn't treated her any differently throughout the transformation. To Pikachu, she was still Ash, its best friend, its partner. That thought filled Ash with a sense of deep relief. Whatever else had changed, Pikachu's love for her hadn't. "Bee Pika Bee," Pikachu said softly. As if sensing her thoughts, Ash smiled down at her companion, bending to give Pikachu a gentle scratch behind the ears. Yeah, buddy, buddy," she murmured. "I'm still me." The sound of footsteps behind her made Ash turn, and she saw Misty approaching. For a moment, she was struck by the sight of her twin. The resemblance was uncanny, and it still took Ash by surprise sometimes. It wasn't just the physical features. It was the way they moved, the way they carried themselves. It was like looking into a mirror. Misty came to stand beside Ash, her eyes following her gaze toward the horizon. She didn't say anything for a while, just stood there, letting the quiet morning settle around them. It was something they had started to do more often, sharing these peaceful, reflective moments. There was an unspoken understanding between them now, a closeness that hadn't existed before the transformation. They didn't always need words to communicate anymore. Finally, Misty broke the silence, her voice soft and contemplative. "It's strange, isn't it?" Ash turned to look at her. "What is?" Misty's eyes remained on the horizon, her expression thoughtful. "All of this. How much has changed? How much we've changed." Ash nodded slowly. Yeah. It still feels surreal sometimes." Misty glanced over at her, a small smile playing on her lips. "But you're okay with it now, right? Right?" Ash met her gaze, and for the first time, she didn't hesitate. Yeah, I am." There was a time, not so long ago, when she wouldn't have been able to say those words, when the fear and confusion had been too overwhelming, when she had felt like she was losing herself to this new identity. But now, standing here beside Misty, she felt a sense of acceptance, of peace. The transformation was complete, but it hadn't taken away who she was. It had just added new layers, new dimensions to her identity. Misty's expression softened, her eyes filled with quiet understanding. I'm glad, Ash, I really am." Ash smiled back at her, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. I couldn't have gotten through it without you, Misty. Misty's cheeks flushed slightly, and she looked away, her smile widening. Please, please, you'd have been fine. You're Ash Ketchum. You've always been strong. Ash laughed softly. Not as strong as you think. There were times when I didn't know if I could handle it, but you were always there, reminding me who I am, reminding me what really matters. Misty's eyes shimmered with emotion, and for a moment, neither of them spoke. Then, after a long pause, Misty let out a quiet sigh and turned to face Ash fully. You know, Misty said, her voice soft but steady, we've been through so much together. And not just because of this transformation. We've been on so many journeys, fought so many battles, faced so many challenges. Ash nodded, her heart swelling at the memories. Yeah, we've been through it all. And through all of that, Misty continued, her eyes locking onto Ash's, we've always had each other's backs, no matter what. This transformation hasn't changed that. If anything, it's made us even closer. Ash swallowed hard, feeling a lump form in her throat. I feel the same way, she said quietly. This whole thing, it's been tough, but it's shown me how strong our friendship really is. We're more than just friends now. Misty? We're like family. Misty blinked rapidly, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. Yeah, we are. Ash smiled, a surge of emotion swelling in her chest. She had always valued her friendship with Misty, but now it felt deeper, more profound. They had been through something together that no one else could possibly understand. They had faced the unknown, confronted their fears, and come out the other side stronger, closer. Maybe it wasn't such a bad thing to be Misty's twin. So, Misty said after a long pause, her voice lighter now. What do we do next? Ash looked out at the horizon, the vast world stretching out before them. For the first time in a long time, she felt a sense of excitement, of anticipation. The transformation had been a journey in itself, but it wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of something new. I think we keep going, Ash said, her voice filled with quiet determination. We keep doing what we've always done. We keep battling, keep training, keep getting stronger. There's still so much out there for us to do. Misty smiled, her eyes sparkling with excitement. You're right. We've still got a lot of adventures ahead of us. Ash nodded, feeling a surge of energy course through her, despite everything that had changed, despite the new body, the new appearance, the new identity, her love for adventure, for Pokemon, for the thrill of the journey. It was all still there. And that was what mattered most. She turned to Misty, her eyes filled with determination. Let's start a new journey. Together. Misty's smile widened, and she reached out, offering her hand to Ash. Together. Ash took her hand, the bond between them stronger than ever. They stood there for a moment, hand in hand, two identical twins ready to take on the world. The future was uncertain, but they knew one thing for sure: they would face it side by side. Later that day, they packed their belongings, preparing to set off on their new journey. Ash's bag, once filled with the rough and tumble necessities of a boy constantly on the move, now carried a mix of old and new, a reminder of who she had been and who she had become. She caught herself packing a hairbrush automatically, something Misty had insisted on gifting her, alongside her pokeballs and other gear. The sight of it made her smile. It was a small thing, but it felt symbolic of her journey, of how she had learned to integrate the old and the new. Misty, too, was packing her things, though she kept glancing over at Ash with a soft smile. There was something different in the way they interacted now. An ease, a shared understanding that hadn't been there before. They didn't need to speak to know what the other was thinking. That was what it meant to be twins, Ash supposed. As they finished packing, Misty straightened up, brushing a strand of hair from her face. So, where to first? Ash thought for a moment, her mind racing through the possibilities. There were still so many regions they hadn't explored, so many Pokémon they hadn't encountered. The world was wide and full of adventure, and she was ready to dive back into it. But then she smiled, a mischievous glint in her eyes. How about Cerulean City? Misty raised an eyebrow. Cerulean City? You want to go to my gym? Ash shrugged, her smile widening. Why not? I think it's time we had a rematch. You and me. Twin versus twin. Misty's eyes sparkled with excitement, and she crossed her arms, grinning. Oh, you're on. But don't think I'm going to go easy on you just because we look the same now. Ash laughed, feeling a surge of adrenaline. I wouldn't want you to. And just like that, they were back to where they had always been. Two friends, two rivals, ready to test their skills and push each other to be their best. The transformation hadn't taken any of that away. If anything, it had made it stronger. As they set off toward Cerulean City, Pikachu bounding ahead, Ash felt a sense of excitement bubbling up inside her. The world was full of possibilities, and she was ready to face them head on. She might look like Misty now, but she was still Ash Ketchum, and she still had her dreams, her goals, her determination. And she wasn't alone. She had Misty by her side, her twin, her best friend, her family. Together, they were unstoppable.